Imagine this. The United States is pouring billions into building a border wall, aiming to keep Mexican immigrants out. But here's the twist. Many experts have argued that the US doesn't need the wall at all.
Now, we don't need to build a wall.
Why? Because Mexico isn't just surviving, it's thriving. In just a few years, Mexico has transformed into one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Its per capita GDP is set to hit $18,500, a staggering leap from just half that amount at the start of the 2020s. And it's not just statistics on paper. Mexico's growth has attracted more than 1.2 million American expats, more than in any other country, and a wave of American companies relocating their operations south of the border. Once, American factories flocked to China, but now they're coming to Mexico, creating millions of jobs and boosting the living standards of its people. And here's the real kicker. Much of this explosive growth can be traced back to two unexpected figures: Mexico's President López Obrador and former US President Donald Trump, whose trade war with China reshaped the global economic map. But how did Mexico pull this off? What's driving its meteoric rise? And how did a trade war meant to hurt China end up making Mexico richer than ever? This is the story of Mexico's incredible rise and how it's becoming insanely rich. Mexico today. For years, Mexico's economy seemed stuck in a loop, steady but unspectacular. From 1980 to 2018, growth was limited, predictable, even a little boring. But now? Here's the big picture. Mexico is now the second largest economy in Latin America and ranks 15th in the world, but the numbers only tell part of the story. What's more important is how Mexico got here. It's not just luck, it's a mix of bold strategies, natural advantages, and one key relationship: its partnership with the United States. Despite political tensions like Trump's infamous border rhetoric, Mexico has found a way to leverage its proximity to the US into pure economic gold. The two countries are now trading partners like no other. In 2023, they exchanged a jaw-dropping $807 billion in goods and services. That's more than the US trades with any other country, including China. And just like that, Mexico is sitting at the top of America's trade partner list. But wait, how did Mexico, of all countries, snag this spot? After all, plenty of nations had a shot when the US-China trade war opened the door. So what did Mexico do differently? Mexico's manufacturing sector is no longer just about cheap labor. It's about efficiency, innovation, and staying ahead of the curve. Today, Mexico is the sixth largest vehicle manufacturer in the world, producing 5 million cars a year. But it's not just about the numbers, it's about how they're doing it. Factories across Mexico are embracing automation and cutting-edge technology to streamline production. AI-powered systems are making supply chains smarter, faster, and cheaper, and the government is stepping in too, offering tax incentives for companies that invest in research and sustainable practices. Mexico isn't just churning out products, it's rewriting rules and standards. The country is going green, pushing renewable energy solutions and eco-friendly manufacturing methods that set it apart in a world where sustainability is everything. How the US leads Mexico's growth. Firstly, Mexico is linked to the US, politically, economically, and geographically. In states like California and Texas, hundreds of thousands of people move across the border each day for work, to attend school, and to visit family members. For the past few years, this interconnectedness has now turned into a strategic partnership. In 2023, Mexico was the largest trading partner of the US and accounted for around 15% of all goods. Until the mid-2010s, many American companies had their factories and offices in China. But when the US started a trade war with China, many of them started to outsource less from China or other Asian countries and decided to bring their manufacturing plants closer to home. And that is where Mexico came in. The trend of nearshoring is growing, and Mexico is now the top spot for American companies to invest in and for global companies to shift production plants. On top of that, nearshoring has transformed Mexico into a manufacturing powerhouse in North America. Factories are popping up everywhere, making everything from cars to electronics. That's not the end of it though. Big companies like Tesla are sidelining their major manufacturing hubs like China and Germany after the pandemic. So Mexico is a go-to destination for all of them. Last year, Tesla announced it would build a gigafactory in Mexico to manage its supply chain in the Americas. But how does this all add to Mexico's economy? According to a recent report, nearshoring can boost Mexico's GDP by 3% in the next 5 years. This growth rate can win the game for Mexico in the next few years. And, simply speaking, Mexico entered into this marathon after the US trade war with China. The US-China trade war significantly shaped global trade dynamics. This war propelled Mexico to become the leading supplier to the US. The protectionist policies made Chinese goods expensive, setting the stage for Mexico to pop in. Along with that, Mexico has a trade agreement with its northern neighbor and Canada, known as the USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canada Trade Agreement. This proved to be a jackpot for Mexico, as American companies like GM and Walmart are pouring billions of dollars into the Mexican market, and Mexico is capitalizing on medical instruments, electric vehicles, and machinery to show its remarkable growth. Now the trade war is long over, but American capitalists decided to stay with Mexico. But why? Why would they not move back to China when Chinese labor is cheaper than Mexican? First of all, shipping takes less time, as Mexico sits right next to the US. Products can arrive in days rather than weeks, like in China's case. Transportation costs are also low, making Mexico a favorable destination for American companies. Secondly, Mexico is a safe bet. It offers political stability and a healthy, long-lasting trade relationship. As the US has signed USMCA, Mexico offers less risk for US companies. Last but not least, there are no supply chain disruptions like those that happened during the pandemic. This makes US companies set their manufacturing bases there. Having such a huge amount of trade with the US may give short-term benefits, but is it good in the long run too? Economic dependency is not always great, because what if the US ever tried to start a trade war with Mexico, like the one they did with China? Well, let's have a look. Can tariffs slow Mexico down? The US just elected Donald Trump as its president, and do you know which word Trump loves more than any other word?
The most beautiful word in the entire dictionary. It's more beautiful than love.
I have stopped wars with tariffs.
Trump announced that he would slap major new tariffs on.
Would Trump impose tariffs on us? Well, that is the question that haunts every trading partner. Right now, it haunts Mexico more than most other partners, as Donald Trump has already threatened Canada and Mexico with a 25% tariff increase. The most important question here is, would Mexico survive a trade war with the US? Everyone knows what happened to China after the trade war and how its economy struggled, even when China had other options. The question is, will Mexico suffer the same fate? Well, Mexico will be hit hard if Trump's recent tariff announcement materializes. The Mexican peso has suffered a significant loss since Trump's election win. You see, Mexico is heavily reliant on the US for trade, so these tariffs could put Mexico in a China-like situation. Mexican exports could get massively hit and product demand could drop. Also, the US would seek other options to fulfill its demand, and in this way, hundreds of Mexican businesses would lose contracts, while the US, previously being a beacon for Mexican industries, could turn the game upside down. Let's take a deeper look into the possible consequences the tariffs will have on Mexico's economic growth. For many, Trump's return is bad news for investors and industrialists in Mexico and Canada. In its recent report, the Mexican Employers Confederation, Coparmex, referred to Trump's action as threatening the region's economic stability. Additionally, Coparmex stated that this could result in losing millions of jobs between the three countries in the USMCA. And don't forget, if there are no jobs and people don't have any money to spend, then local businesses suffer too. The investments could dry up, and there could be production delays. Many industrial and manufacturing plants could face shutdown due to little investment from US companies. Mexico might suffer a huge capital outflow, and some companies might even pull out from Mexico. The auto industries could be hit badly, as Mexico is the 7th largest vehicle producer in the world, so Mexico could face severe backdrops of Trump's trump card. Let's not forget that tariffs are not only economic but also political weapons. The US-Mexico tensions could rise, and Mexico could retaliate. It could respond with its own tariffs on US goods, which can eventually lead to a trade war. Recently, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum threatened to retaliate if Trump goes on with 25% tariffs. She insisted that it could kill 400,000 US jobs and also drives up prices for US consumers. Meanwhile, this could also make automobiles and products much more expensive for Americans. But what would be the alternative for the US if that happens? China and India cannot be the alternate markets, as Mexico is not the only country on which Trump has threatened to impose tariffs. Trump also threatened BRICS countries with 100% tariffs. All in all, Mexico would be the best option for the US, even if American consumers are forced to buy products at an increased rate. This makes Mexico strategically important for the US and a major winner in the global economic landscape. It might sound bold, but Mexico has a real shot to dominate the 2030s. It has gathered everything from nearshoring to the booming auto industry and the emerging workforce. It has a young population, a strategic location, and a gateway between North America and Latin America. Then it shook hands with the US when the US-China rivalry was at its height. With Mexico, the US can maintain its stand on the global economic and political front, Donald Trump would be forced to take back tariffs once American consumers start protesting against the inflation that will be caused by these tariffs. The US did lead Mexico to its prosperity, but cannot stop its exponential growth ever in the future. Do you think Mexico will forever be as crucial to the US as it is today? With Trump pulling the cards on its neighbors, what would be the consequences for both countries in the future? Share with us your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned. See you in the next video soon.